Today we're going to cover some of the information needed to build a Zoho relational database. And we are now sitting on the Zoho Creator homepage, and you can see there's two applications already built, one for a CRM system and one for medical office management system. And we need to create a brand new application. So I'll click on Create Application. And there are a couple ways to start an application. There are some pre-built forms, samples, or templates as they're called, built by the Zoho company themselves. There's also a gallery of applications that people throughout the world have built. Many of these are fairly simple. Some have tons of features. Many are free. Others are $5 or $10. And they're great ways to start applications. They give you some many suggestions. And if you do download a item from the gallery, you get all the source code and you can make whatever changes necessary. But today we want to start an application from scratch. And our application is going to handle keeping track of browsers, keeping track of projects, and we will basically just build a project and assign it to an employee. So we're going to start off with naming it, and it's going to be projects. And our first form will be to capture the employee information. So now I'm going to create this. And we will have the blank screen. You can see there's basically two areas to put information. And I'm going to start off with the employee name. And under options, I want to make that a required field. If this was a full application, I would have a first name and a last name. But we're trying to keep things simple. We want to have the employee's email address, and that will be a required field, and no duplicates are allowed for the emails. On the name, the employee name, I did allow for duplicates because you could have two employees with the same name, but you can't have two employees with the same email address. Okay, we're also going to get the phone number, and I'm not going to make that, well, sure, we'll make it a required field. Now notice I used a text field, a single line text field for the phone number. Some people try to use a number field for the phone number. That doesn't work because a phone number might have dashes in it or put things in parentheses and such, and none of those would make for a valid number. So my rule of thumb is if a number is going to be used in calculations, then we use a number field. If it isn't, then I always use a text field. So a phone number, a zip code, an account number, all those I use as text fields. You would never add one phone number to another phone number to come up with any kind of valid result. Okay. All right. I'm not going to show all of the options here, but I do want to try a date field. This will be the hire date. And that is not going to be required. If you had that as a required field, then the person who's filling out the form would have to put something in there, and they may not know what the hire date is. So you would either have to abandon filling out the form until they can get the information from the personnel department, or they would put in a bogus date, maybe January 1st of this year, and then you've got some data that's just not accurate. So I'd much rather have it as a non-required field. All right. Now I'm also going to do a radio button to keep track of the employee's status, and they can be a full-time, part-time, or inactive. And let me go into options here. I'm going to make it a required field, and one feature that Zoho added fairly recently is the ability to have radio buttons go left to right instead of just up and down. One column, the default, and the only choice you had a few months ago was to list them one after the other, as you see here. 3 columns allows it to list left to right when you're actually working with the form. All right, so we'll do done on that. And I also like to always put in a note field just to catch other information. All right. Okay, so those are the basics of building a form. And now I look at it, I actually want to have the status above the hire date. So I'm just going to click on it and drag, and now I've rearranged the form. It's as simple as that. I could also put the notes off to the right side, which makes for a slightly tighter form, obviously wider, but if you have too many fields and they're scrolling off, it's nice to use 2 columns. All right. By the way, 2 columns is the max that Zoho allows. Let me access the application, and here's our form. And I'm going to just select my name because I'm using Google Chrome, and that keeps track of that kind of information. So here's my name, here's my email address, and let me make my phone number just a little bit better. All right. And on the hire date, I will click on the little date image. The double arrow lets me move back 1 year at a time. And let me go back to 2007. And the single arrow goes month by month. And I will go to May 7th. All right. And I will add a note. Herb is a Zoho Creator developer. All right. So those are the basics of doing an employee. And when I hit submit, I get an error message, and I'll click OK to remove the error message. And here it tells me the actual error, and I had status as a required field indicated by the little red asterisk. I didn't fill anything, and so it was telling me I need to select a value. So I'll make Herb a full-time employee, and I will click submit. All right. Now let me add another employee, and that is J Smith, or JS at optonline.net. And the phone, since it is a required field, I'll put as 203-234-5678. And John is a part-time employee. I don't know the hire date, and John is very good with websites. All right. Whoops. Okay. And I'll click submit, and as you can see, it clears the form ready for the next patient or next employee. All right. While we were building the form, in the background, Zoho built a view for the data. So let me click on that, and you can see we have a nice view of the information that we've entered. And in a later video, I will describe all the features that you can do within the view. So now I want to go back and edit this application, and I want to create another form, and this form is going to be called projects. And I'll take all those defaults, and each project will come from a company, and that is a required field. And we will have a contact name at that company. And that is a required field. And we will have a contact email. And that's also a required field. Oh, and it looks like I've got a little typo there. So if I highlight the field, it gives me some choices. I want to edit this field, and I just want to change that. Okay. And I'm going to have a project title, and that also will be a required field, and no duplicates. I don't want to have 2 projects with the exact same title. That would be very confusing. I'm going to use a rich text field for a description. And a rich text field has many ways that you can enhance the actual text. You can do bold, italics, underline, have all these choices. I'm going to turn off the ones that I don't think we'll have any use for here. Subscript and superscript we don't need. We don't need to color the background. We don't need all of these little quotes and hypertext and such. They'd just be inappropriate on this particular type. So that's done. All right, so those are the basics I need for keeping track of minimum information on a project. In a real project management system, I would have start date, I'd have estimated hours, estimated staff involved, all kinds of things. But here I do want to assign this to a staff, so I'm going to use one of the advanced fields. This is a lookup, and I want to assign the project to an employee, so it's assigned to. And here I select the form. I'm going to choose employee. This shows all the forms within the application. Currently, we only just have the one employee. And I'm going to select my field. I want to link to the actual name. And my display options is a very useful item here. I want to display the name, and I want to display the email. Okay, and this will be a required field. And I want to show the choices in alphabetical order. And even though we only have a few right now, I do want to use a search and autocomplete feature. Okay. Okay, so there's my basic form to keep track of the project. And let me actually go into the live mode, and we will say this is Big Corp, and contact is Mike Mouse, and Mike's email is mm@bigcorp.com. Okay, and here we are with our employees listed alphabetically as we chose. And here in this box, I can type a few letters that would reduce the items that are seen. So I typed in H, it shows me all the names with an H in it. If I type HE, it shows me names that have an HE. All right, so I select that. And as you can see, there's the email that I expected. All right, and the project title is okay. And I'm going to use a numbered list here to keep track of the items that we want in this project. And we want to track project information. We want to track employee information. And we want to assign employees to projects. Okay, so this would capture all the information we need. I use a number list instead of a bulleted list just because it helps on communication. If I use bulleted list, the only way to communicate is gee, I need a change on, or I need clarification on what you mean by assign employees to projects. With a numbered list, they can say, I need a change on item number 3. It just makes it easier to communicate. So anyhow, this is all the information. I'll click Submit. And just as with employee, it clears the information ready for add another project. Or I can go to the project view, and here's a list of all the projects. So in an upcoming video, I'm going to describe all the things you can do with the data in your views, because there's just a lot of things that you can do that really helps managing a business. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to talking to you again about Zoho Views. Thank you.